This is Steve from WeAreChangeCT Connecticut. I'm with Rich Burgess from Connecticut Carry out in front of the Middletown Courthouse in Connecticut. Rich, what is the mission statement and objective of Connecticut Carry?
Well, basically our mission statement is the same as Article 1, Section 15 of the Connecticut Constitution, which is every citizen has the right to bear arms in defense of himself and the state.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Rich Burgess. I'm the president of Connecticut Carry. I got involved with these kind of issues when open carry was a big issue. It was back in 2010. I got arrested for open carrying in a pool hall, and I decided after that that people needed to be represented and people needed to be defended in Connecticut. So I went ahead and started Connecticut Carry since I saw there was a lack of that kind of thing in the state, and I decided that it's high time that people defend themselves in the state of Connecticut.
You mind telling us a little about what happened when you got arrested and what was the outcome and how you're able to, if you were all able to, beat it and get it thrown out of court? And
Sure. I actually was able to beat it. I beat it by going to court, and it was actually dismissed right away on no probable cause. Connecticut has open carry. If you have a pistol permit, you can open carry just fine and legally, and that's exactly what I was doing that day. So went to court, got it dismissed immediately, and now I'm in the middle of a federal 1983 civil rights suit to try to sue Wallingford. The first instance of it was they dismissed it with summary judgment, but that's just for qualified immunity. It happens all the time in the Second Circuit. I'm not worried. Now there's an appeal. We'll see where it goes. Wallingford did something wrong that day, so I'm going to keep going.
I wish you the best of luck on that, man.
Thank you.
You guys just recently released a letter to the government and the state of Connecticut on March 3rd. Can you give us a brief synopsis on what it said and basically what you guys are trying to get out of this?
Sure. First, though, radio friendly or no? You don't care?
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Basically, we told the state of Connecticut to shit or get off the pot. And that was the words of our director, Ed Peruta. I absolutely agree with him. The state either needs to enforce these laws or not enforce the laws. And the real reason behind that, for any people who are questioning that kind of wisdom, is, look, the state is impotent. They cannot enforce these laws. There's tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of felons now. They're not going to throw everybody in jail. If they do try to throw everybody in jail, the public outcry would be crazy. And you know what? We'll handle it either way it comes, but they're just not going to do it. And this is really a message to the state of Connecticut. You're incapable of doing these laws, of enforcing these laws. Let's start thinking about some other things. And one of our main suggestions, obviously, is to repeal them entirely.
Have you started any legal proceedings to kind of force the state of Connecticut's hand to make a decision to either enforce or repeal the law that they passed?
Well, legal proceedings, they're a funny thing, and it's what we kind of specialize in. Our director, Ed Peruta, big case out in the Ninth Circuit for getting concealed carry out there. We strategize about this stuff. We don't feel that facial lawsuits like what are being challenged right now, there are some groups doing that. We don't feel that that's very productive. We feel it actually is, it can be actually harmful, although we do support those lawsuits. We just, we don't feel that they're the right way to gain traction, especially for an organization like ours. We plan to do a lot more grassroots work, and we plan to go after the enforcement of the specific statutes and the specific people that are affected by them.
Has anyone from the state of Connecticut responded to your declaration as of yet?
No, and we don't really expect anybody from the state to respond to our declaration. I mean, it would be probably a really bad PR move if they did. We'd certainly invite them to. I know the state police, we talk to them on a pretty regular basis dealing with other issues, but I don't really expect them to call a bluff or to respond to a bluff.
Have you talked to anyone? Well, you just said you talked to the state police. Have you talked to them about this issue and what's basically the general consensus of the police force in Connecticut?
No, we don't necessarily want a consensus of the police because we don't believe it's going to be anything that any of our members want to hear. I know there are plenty of good officers out there, as good as they can be, that will hopefully they'll at least look the other way. But I don't think we have a whole lot of people out there. I mean, they're already currently enforcing the assault weapons ban of 1994. I don't think there's a whole lot of hope for them not enforcing the assault weapons ban of 2013. I think it's just a matter of we got to, keep plugging away, keep going. This isn't that much different than 1994. It's a feel-good measure. This is what the legislature does. This is what the state does. So, keep keep plugging away and don't worry about what the state police do.
Nice. The exact number of Connecticut residents that chose not to register or hand in their firearms seems to be unknown. I see different numbers, no matter, with different websites that you go to. But the estimate seems to be at least 50,000 to 350,000. Do you have any idea where these numbers are at?
No, and I think that's a big sticking point. It's why we don't really care that much what the state police want to do. We know they're not going to do much, because in court they actually need, some kind of evidence. They need probable cause. They need, proof beyond reasonable doubt that you own these things, especially before they come kicking in your door. And they don't have that probable cause. We actually on our website have the weapons registry for the state of Connecticut. Obviously, we don't have things like the names and addresses, but you can look up if you have a weapon in the state of Connecticut and you bought it through an FFL. You can get the serial number, type it into there. Redo. Okay. You can look up the serial number, and it's no problem to see where it is right now and what the state knows about it. And you can also look them up by town and see what various weapons are in there. And when you start looking into this data, you realize that there's many makes and models of firearms that are repeated in that database. There's 6 or 7 times for a single serial number. They don't know where these guns are. We want it that way. We try to keep people from changing that database. And so, that's really a big emphasis of ours, is giving the information to people on whether to comply or not by giving them the data of whether their firearms are known by the state.
I think with the amount of people who didn't register might actually work towards our benefit, because if it's even as low as 50,000, how is the state of Connecticut going to prosecute or imprison that many people? How are they going to turn people who were once law-abiding citizens overnight into automatic felons?
Right. They have, but we don't think that they're actually going to enforce it, and that's of course the purpose of our press release. That's one of our focuses, is showing that the state, these laws don't mean anything. And while it means something to normal, everyday, law-abiding Americans that pride themselves on obeying the law, all you've done is now create a class of people who don't care about abiding by the law anymore. And for the state, that's dangerous. For the rest of us, we like to think that this is probably the way they should have always had their train of thought.
Now, have you guys gotten any response or any attention from the so-called mainstream media about this press release?
Always. It's never as much as you would like, but I would say we've gotten some pretty good attention. But a lot of that attention is from independent media. I mean, we have been on Fox. Megyn Kelly, our director, Ed Peruta, was on Fox News for that. But it's hit or miss. Certainly none of the local papers will have us, and that's not really all that surprising. They, as the Hartford Current has said, they want us to just round up everybody and confiscate everything. So we don't expect them to be our best friends.
Did you see the YouTube video or read about the response about Lieutenant Paul Vance, about some woman, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she called him up and basically, asked, what's the state police going to do? Are they going to come in and kick down our doors and whatnot? And he basically said she was un-American for asking a question like that, if he was going to enforce the law, and basically said that he was the master.
Right. Yeah, we've actually had some fun with that on the internet. We've released a bunch of memes that feature Paul Vance as Master Blaster from Mad Max, and that was actually Gorilla Girl Ashley from the Pete Santilli show. We were actually on the Pete Santilli show. Again, our director Ed Peruta did a nice interview with them, so they've given us attention. They're certainly helping us out with this. But it is what it is. People are going to be very disappointed in what the normal police response here is. I know a lot of people are into the Oath Keepers. We think they're a great organization that's trying to do stuff. However, we all need to realize that the Oath Keepers in office are pretty slim and none. So let's make sure that we treat the people that come to your door the way they need to be treated, which is get off my property.
Most definitely. Is there anything you want to say right now to the state of Connecticut to kind of reinforce what you guys been saying?
Bulan Labi.
Nice. Do you want to promote Connecticut Carry at all? Do you want to promote anything, your website, what you guys are doing?
Yeah, you can get in touch with Connecticut Carry. We have email, we have internet, we have Twitter, Facebook, we have YouTube, we have everything. But the best place to just get information is ctcarry.com. And there you can sign up for free. You get all our newsletters, our media releases, things like that. and you'll have a good time.
One last thing I want to ask you.
I didn't know I was going to bring a tear to your ear, but to your ear.
There was a date on there, May 11th, I believe. Now, what's going to happen come May 11th to force the state of Connecticut to either repeal or enforce this law?
Well, the May 11th date is actually the date that the legislature adjourns. So a lot of people have asked us about that, like what ominous thing are we planning for May 11th? Well, the ominous thing is the legislature adjourns, and that's when they have their deadline of if you don't get this repealed, then you have, 30,000, 100,000, whatever felons that are, you're just leaving them out to dry, and that's horrible. So, I think it's a self-imposing deadline that they impose on themselves.
So come May 11th, they either have to, by law, repeal or enforce this law?
Right. That's certainly what all the Connecticut charters and all that stuff say is, if you made this law, it's on the books, you've had the January 1st deadline, if the state police and the towns are trying to give the legislature time to repeal it, well, you're done on the time that it adjourns.
Nice. I thank you for coming out. I thank you for speaking, and I wish you guys the best of luck on this. Thank you.
Can we talk about that? Talk about the U.S. government selling guns to the Mexicans to create a problem? No, we're not going to talk about that. Next comment.
I got elected in November.
Yeah, I know. Here we go.
So what exactly do you guys do down here?
Mostly self-defense training, personal protection, home defense, anti-carjack, understanding how to read a situation if it's becoming hostile or if it's already hostile and you just happen to come into it. We do a lot of active shooter scenes too, so if you're in a parking lot and a shootout happens, how do you control yourself? How do you take care of yourself? If you're in home and home invasion, we train a lot of that. Or if you come home and there's a robbery in progress, we train a lot of people with that. We use simunition, so we'll actually shoot, it's like paintball, but we'll actually shoot at each other. So if you're a gun person or not and you've encountered somebody with a gun, you know better how to take care of yourself.